Today I'm going to make a video just going over some things I said in a previous live stream. It had to do about taking the ferries here from Washington to up to Canada and even all the way up to Alaska. So the reason I'm making this video, even though I've talked about it before, is because apparently there were quite a lot of corrections I need to make to some of the stuff I said in that video. And I think you know how that goes. So I misspoke, I screwed up. But I also want this to be a learning lesson for anyone out there that has a YouTube channel, is hoping to start a YouTube channel, wants to grow their YouTube channel and get more views. And also for anyone out there that likes to leave comments on YouTube videos. Maybe you're too shy to do so. Maybe you never even look at the comments. You just watch YouTube for the videos and don't even realize there's a whole comment section below. But the reason why I'm talking about this is you're probably watching because you want to learn more about the ferry system. So let's get to something I said, first of all, about the ferry system. The one that is Washington State Ferry system that goes from Washington up to Canada. Well, let me tell you about the ferry system here, because there used to be a ferry where you could take a ferry out of Anacortes, Washington, and it would take you straight to Canada. And if you were a walk-on passenger, it only cost $12 to take that ferry to go from basically America to Canada. If you took a car, then they charge you by your car size, your vehicle size. But I would go as a walk-on passenger. It only cost $12, and I believe like to return back was like $15. So whatever the currency conversion is between the the Canada dollar and the U.S. dollar. So for me, like, that seemed really crazy cheap to basically travel to another country. That's how I saw it, for only $12. It was a lot of fun to do. And then, of course, they shut down that ferry line that used to run from Anacortes. Like, they shut it down the same time that we had shutdowns in 2020, but they claimed that they shut it down for repairs, that there was something like wrong with the ferry, it needed to be repaired, and then they never restored it. They never brought that line back. Now, the Washington State Ferry System website currently has this message that says that route is going to be out of service till at least 2030. Now, apparently where I'm at, there seems to be a lot of airplane noises, train noises, so I'm back to using the microphone. Okay, just to make it simple, because I want to make sure you hear what I have to say. So let's talk about a little bit about how YouTube works, about a lot of times when people say, leave a comment below, like and subscribe, they tell you all that stuff. So here's the thing. Sometimes people say things, and they say really outrageous things in a video. They may say crazy political stuff, and that makes you, the audience, get all worked up. So sometimes you get so worked up, you want to leave your thoughts in the comments, because you just think it's so outrageous what they're saying. I can't believe what they're saying. I have to get in there and I have to type and I have to tell them that they're wrong. So, first of all, if you are someone who happens to have a YouTube channel, here's the thing. Sometimes you might want to put some stuff in your videos that's a little like we say, have a clickbait title, have in the photo, the thumbnail for your video, you might be making a shocked face, like, so something that draws attention to get people to watch your video. And then, of course, you can say a bunch of crazy, kooky things, because then that's going to get the audience to react. And when they react, they leave comments, they share the video, they want to show all their friends how stupid this YouTuber is. And you know what that does? That helps your channel grow. So you can say things, and I'm not saying go out there and say crazy, cuckoo stuff, but what I'm saying is you can maybe say some stuff that's not correct, because sometimes people in the audience, they'll correct you. They'll tell you it's wrong. You can say things that, even if you made a mistake, you misspoke. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes people, I don't know what it is, human psychology, sometimes people just want to feel like they're right, or that they're smarter than you. And so they love to come into the comments and tell you just how wrong you were. So part of the reason, like I said, why I'm making this video today is to make some corrections to some things I said, because I was just rambling during a live stream, not really knowing what I'm talking about. But like I said, so there are some tips and tricks of how to grow your channel by just throwing out some random stuff, saying crazy things to get your audience all whipped into a frenzy. And they're going to start leaving you comments. They're going to start sharing that video with all their friends. And that's pretty much how things kind of go viral. Is that the best way to do things? I mean, I'm not going to say like it's morally the best way to do things, but I'm just telling you that's kind of how it is. The part two of that is if you happen to be the person in the audience, look out for that. You know, if you're someone who just likes to watch YouTube videos and sometimes maybe you left a comment or two, like don't fall for it. You know, like don't fall for these tricks that the YouTuber's trying to pull on you. You can kind of tell, hopefully you can, after a while, that someone is really just trying to bait you into responding. And so that's why I say don't fall for it. Don't fall for their tricks. Watch a video and go into it thinking like, is this person for real? Or are they just saying this because they're like pulling my leg? So think about it. Think about where it gets them by saying crazy stuff in a video. You know, so yeah, like I said, sometimes people just make mistakes. They say the wrong thing, and it's all right to say correct someone when you know talk about maybe say I went on some hike and I was telling someone like how great this trail was, and it runs north to south, and someone might in the comments say actually it runs east to west. It's like, oh yeah, you're right. I got that wrong. It's these little things that kind of like people will be like, oh my god, I can't believe you got that wrong. I can't believe you said it went from north to south. And this is like this whole human behavior, human psychology. It's just something that seems to happen. And so that's why I'm putting it out there. So keep that in mind when you're watching these videos. Now we're going to move on with my video today where I'm going to continue talking about the ferry system, taking ferries from certain places in Washington up to Canada. Now, you can still take a ferry from basically downtown Seattle up to Canada, and there's another location in Washington where you can take a ferry up to Canada. And I believe, those are referred to as like the fast ferry, but it is not maintained by Washington State, because the one that was only $12 was part of the Washington State Ferries. So these are privately owned ferries that leave from Seattle up to Canada. And sometimes those can cost like $100 just to take the ferry. So huge price difference from, being able to pay the $12 versus now you have to pay like $100 or more to take that fast ferry. Like I said, there are different ferry lines. So for me to provide that information, I think there's one called like the Cobalt Ferry, and then I think there's one that's the Victoria. I think it's called something like that, Victoria. Anyways, those are all things that if you are interested in doing some traveling, we of course, like I said, we have the cruise lines. Cruise lines here go from Seattle up to Alaska, so that's a huge thing here. But if you were interested in basically instead of going all the way to Alaska, you do just the ferry up to Canada. Now, let me just say, there is something, I believe it's called like, man, I don't know what it's called. I need to look all this stuff up. But it's called like the Alaskan Highway or something like that, where it's a ferry system that does go from Washington all the way up through Canada, all the way to Alaska. And I have looked at that. I've seen videos on YouTube about that. And I have seen where people, they pay like $800 to take that ferry. I mean, it's a ferry or a ship or whatever. It's like $800 to $1,000 like one way just to go take that. And it's like a regular ferry. It's not one of these fast cruise ships or anything. So it's like a slow trip. So I think it takes like a week or something to like get up there on this ferry, and it's super expensive. So I mean, that's obviously, I don't even know if that's something I would ever do, mainly because of the price, but also because I have a job. I wouldn't be able to take like that much time off of work to do something like that, just to get up there and then immediately come right back, because you'd want to enjoy yourself while you're up there after you made that big huge trip. But anyways, let me go ahead and end this now. Thank you for watching, and I will do another live stream as soon as I can.